Hey, it's Vass here from Metro Hobbies, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be talking about transmitters. Which ones should you get? Should you upgrade? And why is one better than the other? So let's get into it. So as you can see, we have quite a number of transmitters here on the table. And this isn't the full range that's available out there on the market. There are various different brands from various different price points. These are just some of the ones that we stock here. And as you can see, starting over to my right, we have the old stick style transmitter. As you can probably tell, most transmitters these days are pistol grip, which means that they have the steering wheel, they have the little throttle trigger. They don't really use the stick radios anymore, but there are some people out there that still prefer this method, and therefore there are still some transmitters available like this. So this is the Futaba one. Very simple transmitter. It's got a throttle and steering, couple of trims, runs on 4 AA's, no antennas or anything like that. Comes with its own receiver. Very basic stuff. Moving on from that, we have the Code or Core RC Code radio. This is one of our most popular radios that we have. Runs on 4 AA's here. It's actually a 3-channel radio, which means that there's a little button on the handle here that you can assign that to, maybe turning on some lights if you have an actuator in the car, or any other sort of servo that you might have plugged into the 3rd channel. You can push that button and it will do something there. So it does have steering dual rates on here as well, the usual trims, reverse switches, all that type of stuff. Yeah, very simple, easy to use transmitter. A lot of people actually buy these to use on their Tamiya kits when they're building their first Tamiya kit. A very similar one to the Code is the Spektrum one. This is a new radio that comes with some of the ready-to-run Armors and Axial cars these days. This is the Spektrum SLT3. Again, runs on 4 AA's. No collapsible antennas or anything like that to break off. Also has 3 channels. So this guy here has a button, like a toggle switch here on the handle that you can, again, assign that to something else. The usual switches down the side here, reverse switches, on and off switch on the back. And then you have the steering dual rate, throttle and steering trims on the front there. So really nice foam wheel, very good feel in the hand, nicely designed radio, very popular. A little bit more expensive than the Code, but being Spektrum, you kind of expect that. And then we move on to the Futaba. So this is Futaba kind of bringing in sort of like an entry level a pistol grip radio. It's got really nice trims on the back. Again, no collapsible antennas. This is a very reminiscent design of some of the old Futabas that had the big telescopic antennas. I used to have something like this back in the day. But now they run just 4 AA's, nice foam wheel, and yeah, just a very simple transmitter. It does have steering dual rates right here, easy access on the thumb. So nice radio as well. But being Futaba, again, it is a little bit pricier. And now we're going to move on to the computerized radios. Now with the computerized radios, I know that this can be a little bit intimidating to some people because essentially all we want is a radio to work with our RC. But when you do get invested into the hobby and you start to get multiple vehicles, it's always good to have one transmitter that's actually going to control multiple vehicles, rather than having one transmitter for every car that you own, which means that every time you go out to the park, you got to take like 5 or 6 transmitters with you. You take the one transmitter and all your cars, and then you just program your cars onto that particular transmitter. Now, of course, there's various different ones again, and they come at different price points, and they have different features, different advantages and benefits, depending on your budget and what it is that you actually want the transmitter to do. Especially for those of you out there who are starting to get into crawling and want vehicles that have 4-wheel steering, or you want to be able to program a winch to be able to pull the car off a ditch or something like that, or you want to put in some other accessories, smoke machines, LED lights. I mean, there's a variety of different things that you can program these radios to do, and this is where the computerized radio sort of comes into play. At the starting point, we have the Futaba 3PV. This is probably one of my very favorite first sort of computerized radios that you can get. I actually own one of these myself. I've had it now for a few years, and it is a brilliant radio. It has excellent range with no extendable antennas or anything like that. It is only a 3-channel radio though. It has a removable battery tray, which means that you can actually buy separate batteries and use rechargeable life batteries and things like that. A nice little LCD screen on the front, and usual buttons and everything through there. You've got your buttons, little switches on the front here for your trims and your steering dual rates and so forth. Yeah, just has a really good feel in the hand, very compact size, very simple. Has a 10 model memory on this guy as well. The only thing that's a little bit annoying about this 3PV is just the menu system. Because it doesn't have a little joystick or anything like, or a scroll wheel, you have to push the buttons in order to scroll through the menu. And if you're the type of person that's going to be fiddling around with menus a lot and changing programmings and things like that, this can get a little bit annoying. So you might want to look past this one for something that's going to be easier to use as far as the menu system goes. But if you're the type of person that gets your RC card, you set it up and you leave it and forget, this is perfect. You can hook up to 10 cars. Really, really nice radio. I absolutely love the 3PV. Now we go on to the 4PM. And believe it or not, I also own one of these. This is the premium computerized radio at a reasonable budget. There are some that are worth twice as much as this, but for the money that this has a very luxurious feel. So if you really want to spend a little bit of extra and you want something that has more features, more functions, more model memory, and has a much more professional feel, as well as a really good menu that you can navigate through with a little joystick that's on the bottom here, this is definitely the one that I would personally recommend. Again, removable battery tray on the bottom here. Both of these will run on 4AAs as standard, but you can remove them and put in your rechargeables. Beautiful feeling steering wheel, and there's tension adjustments and everything like that for your throttle trigger. A bunch of dials, a whole bunch of features, some of which I've never even used. This is really like one of the elite radios that you can get. Beautiful radio, highly recommended as well if you're prepared to invest a little bit of extra money on something that's going to last you pretty much a lifetime. Like, you buy something like this, you don't look at another radio again. Now we move on to, I guess, the Spektrum range, and the DX5C is very much sort of like the entry level of computerized radios for Spektrum. The advantage that this radio has over your Futaba 3PV is the menu system. Incredibly easy to use, a really nice scroll wheel that you can push on and select your menus through, and it's a nice robust type of looking radio. It feels nice and strong. It doesn't have any big antennas for you to snap off or anything like that. It's a DX5C, which means that it's a 5-channel radio, so you do get 2 extra channels that you can use provided you have the receiver for it over the 3PV for around the same money. So just something to keep in mind there. It does run on 4AAs. However, the battery tray is not removable, which is one of the downsides with this radio. I wish that they would have made that removable so you could run your own sort of rechargeable battery block brick that you can put in there. Other than that, menu system's amazing. Throttle and everything else feels really good. The wheel feels really nice. I like a bit of a weighted throttle. So this has a little bit of weight to it, which feels really good. You get a bit of resistance on the trigger. And like I said, the menus are absolutely sublime. Spektrum do really good menus for these types of radios. So a very good one there. And then last but not least, we have the DX5 Rugged. So if you're the type of guy that likes to go out in all sorts of weather conditions, maybe you like to go out on the trails, and you're afraid that your radio might get dirty or might get dropped or might get wet, well then the DX5 Rugged is probably the only one that will sort of kill all of these with those sorts of features. The menu system is very much the same as the DX5C. It does not have a scroll wheel. It has like a touch little panel here on the bottom that will allow you to scroll through the menus. This of course eliminates any sort of moving parts and any chance of water getting into the radio itself. It does come with a really nice handy door on the back here, if I can open it up real quick, and you can actually put a cross wrench in here. You can put some tools, maybe a bind plug, and little things like that you can probably put in there. Again, it only runs on 4AAs, no removable battery tray, and it does have this little sort of thumb steering wheel thing here. So essentially what that means is you could drive this with just a thumb as you're filming your car. That was the idea when they designed this for guys that want to film their trail trucks. You can control the throttle and drive with just one hand whilst holding your mobile phone or your camera or whatever as you're recording yourself. So that's the idea behind that. And then it's got this sort of like little handle thing here that you can just grab. It's got a little loop here for a lanyard, so you can just have it hanging on your around your neck. So if you do want to go down or you slip or whatever and you accidentally need to let go of the radio, it's not going to fall 20 meters to its death. It just hangs around your neck. So that's the idea with that one there, and that's pretty much our full range of radios. They all have excellent range. I will say one thing though, the Futaba does have a little bit better range than the Spektrum because I have tested this, so I do like that. Now we are going to move on to some receivers. I'll do a quick brief little exit on this video just in regards to receivers, because I know some of you would want to know some of the different options that there are available out there as far as receivers for the multi-model memory radios. Now with receivers, of course, you are going to need to get more receivers as you get more cars, so you can obviously connect them to the radio. And with Futaba, they do start a little bit more expensive than the Spektrum does, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now with the Futaba receivers, the starting price for something like a 3-channel antennaless receiver is about 87 bucks. Now that might seem like a lot of money, but you do have full range even with the antennaless receiver, and the fact that it's antennaless means that you can make for a much tidier install in your vehicle. So depending on the circumstances, the receiver antenna can actually get in the way a little bit. So having an antennaless receiver is actually a benefit. The other one that they have is a 4-channel antennaless, which is about $95, and then we have the full 4-channel with the antenna aerial, and that's about 100 bucks. So not overly bad considering the quality and standard that Futaba have on these transmitters. They do have a very small latency measurement as well. I think it's only like 0.37 seconds or something like that. So very, very small latency compared to something like Spektrum, which has, I think, 0.11 milliseconds. So moving on to Spektrum, the 2-channel receivers that they have, like this one here, the SR215, really simple receiver, has a little push button on the front here that makes it really easy to bind to the radios. I will say that the binding process for Futaba is probably a little bit more complicated than most people would like, while Spektrum is super, super simple. So something like this will set you back about 65 bucks for a standard 2-channel. That being said, it's technically 3-channel because it does have a battery slot. For those of you out there who are using your nitro cars, you can actually plug your battery in there as well. So you have throttle and steering, but you also have a third port for your throttle. If you're using this in an electric car, you can actually use that as a third channel or power source, like if you want to power some LEDs or something like that. So not a bad receiver at all for the money. Now the next one up, it does jump up a bit. You get to about $95 for a 3-channel receiver. And again, this has an antenna, still with the standard push button on the front here to bind up to your transmitter. And then we move on to the 5-channel receiver. And this one, again, still with the little antenna, push button on the front just like the others, but this one retails for about $127.99. So it does jump up a little bit when you start to compare it to the Futaba, but the standard 2-channel, which is what most people would just need for their cars, actually comes in a little bit more affordable. So that's just giving you a bit of an overview of the different transmitters, different receivers that are available, depending on what it is that you want to do and what sort of project you want to hook these up to. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's been useful to you. If you liked it, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and leave your questions and comments in the comments section down below. We'll try and get back to you as best as we can. And check out the video description, of course, for more links on all the radios that you see here and receivers, and all links to our socials as well. Thank you again for watching, and I'll speak to you all next time.